What is going on, everyone? Happy Tuesday. Welcome in to a very special edition of GC Live at the Buzzer with your host, the one, the only, yours truly, Jack Veltri. Thank you guys for all tuning in. Hutch, appreciate you tuning in. Hey, Jack, great to see you back on air. Thank you so much, Hutch. It hasn't been that long since I've been back on air, but you know what? I was on this morning on radio and did Sunday Reset the other day. Now we're back rolling, like I said, with a special edition of GC Live at the Buzzer. We are not only going to be talking about women's basketball and men's basketball, we have a lot to dive into with those games. We are also, right behind me here, if I can, on that TV there is a basketball game going on right now. Memphis and Michigan State duking it out in Hawaii. But once the clock strikes 8 o'clock, assuming, how much time is left? 15 minutes are left in this basketball game. As soon as that game's over, we are diving headfirst into live reaction of the college football playoff rankings. I know what you may be thinking. Jack, this is a basketball show. Why on earth are you talking about football? Well, number one, it's my show. I can kind of do what I want, right? No, I'm just messing. But, look, I figured it was a great idea to not only, number one, I didn't have a lot of time on my hands today, so I couldn't do the show early in the morning. So to compromise, do the show later at night and include the college football playoff rankings and give you guys a live reaction. Like, I'll be watching as you guys are watching, and you guys will see my genuine reaction, good, bad, whatever the case might be. We'll see what happens. It's going to be a very fun time tonight. And yeah, not a lot of people in here. Well, I think more people need to be tuning into the stream because, look, I know basketball has stunk right now. Women's basketball just suffered their first loss in 43 games. They won 43 in a row and then lost to UCLA on Sunday. And then the men's team has been stinking it up, losing again to Xavier yesterday out in Fort Myers. But you know what? We're talking hoops. That's what this show's about. If you're not on the wagon now, don't join later. You know, these are tough times, right? You're not going to win every single game. And I think that's the reality that, you know, especially with women's basketball, you're going to lose a game here and there. That is the reality of the situation. And with men's hoops, the schedule's tough for this year. So there's going to be more losses on the schedule. So that's something that we'll be talking about here. Apologize if I don't sound great. I'm a little bit under the weather. My throat's been kind of going in and out a little bit. So going to have this water beside me here throughout the stream to make it through. But you know what? The seasons are changing and stuff. So kind of adjusting with that. So hang in there with me. Appreciate you guys all tuning in. Before we talk some women's hoops, let's talk about Clint Hammond of CMG Home Loans. If you are in the market to buy a home or you need help with your mortgage, but you don't know where to start, I highly suggest getting in contact with our guy, Clint Hammond of CMG Home Loans. He's been in the mortgage industry for a very long time, and he knows what he's doing. He's a lifelong Gamecock fan, a longtime supporter of Gamecock Central, and he'll help you through the process step by step. So it doesn't sound like much of a better option than him. He's the best way to go. So if you're interested, call 803-422-6797. The NMLS number for him is 71597. And you can also go to ClintHammond.com for more info. So thank you to Clint for being a wonderful sponsor of Gamecock Central Live. So appreciate you guys tuning in. Hutch asks, what rank is women's basketball now since our first loss in many games with UCLA? Yeah, so the Gamecocks dropped from number 1 down to 4 this week. And apologies if I'm coughing on stream or whatever. We're kind of just roll through, doing this, to have a live reaction and share some thoughts. And look, I'm not feeling great, but you know what? We're making it through. We're going to push. But Carolina went from 1 to 4 in women's basketball rankings in the AP poll. And that came off of the heels of a 77-62 loss to the UCLA Bruins, who are now ranked number 1 in the country. And that game was out in California in La La Land. And look, point is, I think this loss was due for South Carolina. They were kind of I don't want to say they were due for a loss, but they hadn't been playing great. Like, quite honestly, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Like, I don't do anything. Like, they haven't been playing great. And yes, they beat Clemson by 30 the other day. Whoop-de-doo. But you didn't potentially, like, you struggled at the beginning of that game. You were trailing for a portion of that first half before you went on a really solid run to kind of seal the deal on the game. Like, that's what South Carolina is capable of doing at any given moment. However, at some point, it's just going to be like you face a team that's more on your playing level that can kind of contend with you. No disrespect to Clemson, but they're not on the same kind of stratosphere as South Carolina in terms of women's basketball right now. That's a fact of the matter. UCLA, on the other hand, they're up to your standard, and that's what you saw on Sunday. Hutch asks another good question. Do you think we could have won against UCLA if we were at Colonial Life? I'm going to be honest. No, I don't think so. Because, look, obviously, home court makes a big difference. Traveling out to California is a big difference rather than UCLA having to travel out to South Carolina. Maybe South Carolina wins that game. However, I just think UCLA is kind of getting rolling right now. They're playing really well. Lauren Betts has been phenomenal for the Bruins. I mean, she had a great game the other day. 11 points on 5-8 shooting, double-double with 14 rebounds, and she blocked 4 shots. I mean, here's the thing. South Carolina, at least in my opinion, they don't have that player that can size up with these other great bigs around the country. And Lauren Betts versus the Gamecocks was a prime example of that. And I'll tell you why. They don't have Camila Cardoso anymore. I know that's the excuse that a lot of people like to use, and justifiably so. I will also add this point. There was a stretch last season where, in that perfect season, Cardoso had to go play with Team Brazil for a period of time. And so South Carolina was kind of without her for a bit. And they got by. However, I don't know. I don't know what the real difference is. I just don't know why this team seemingly doesn't have that. I don't know. They have the talent, obviously. They got some of the best players in the country. They have the best coach in the country. But shooters are not shooting well right now. Chloe Kitts, 1 of 7 from the field. Bree Hall, 1 of 5 from the field. Raven Johnson, who has been not good at all to start the season, 1 of 5 shooting. Maddie McDaniel, 1 of 5 shooting. Malaysia Fulwiley, who only played 3 minutes for whatever reason in this game. I have no idea what the deal was. And look, I don't know. Like, I mean, look, is it her? Is it Dawn? I don't know what the deal is, but I would say the best player on this team right now, Big Red, I think for the women, it's got to be Tahina Pau. Is it not? Like, she's kind of carrying this team on her back, and I feel like a close second could be Tessa Johnson right behind her. Excuse me. But I mean, Pau went 4-4 from deep on Sunday, 18 points, led the team in shooting. And I think she played great. Like, honestly, like, maybe it helped that she's back on the West Coast. She had so many family members there and all that. But look, at the same time, it's like this team, they have the talent. But my gosh, I mean, they're all underperforming. Like, I just read off the stat lines. Chloe Kitts, 2 points. Bree Hall, 3 points. Raven Johnson, 3 points. Those are 3 of your key starters right there that combined for 8 points. That is abysmal. And I hate to be honest. Sorry, my words are kind of scrambling tonight. However, it's just they are all underperforming. And as John puts it, that was a disgraceful performance versus UCLA. Yes-ish. It doesn't look bad on the surface because you lost by 15. However, this game was over at halftime. I mean, let's call a spade. I mean, you were down 43-22 at the break. I mean, that is unbelievably bad. I mean, excuse me, just unbelievable. Now, here's the other thing, and RL brings up a good point. Obviously, Dawn would have rather the team continue to stay undefeated. You keep doing what you think is best short term to keep the streak alive. But I think with this loss, I think it'll allow for Dawn to make some needed change. Yeah, I think it also, good point there, RL. I think it also gets the point across that, like, whatever Dawn's going to preach here moving forward, like, it'll get through the players' skulls. Because, look, I think, I'm trying to think of, like, a comparison here. Think of it like, I think I used the Rocky analogy on Sunday Reset with the Wofford game. Think of it like Rocky 3, Rocky's winning all these fights. He's the heavyweight champ of the world. And then he overlooks Clubber Lang, and Clubber Lang smokes him, knocks him out in 2 rounds in the first fight of Rocky 3. And it's kind of like that. You need that wake-up call. And winning close games, at least in my opinion, is not a wake-up call. A wake-up call is losing a game that you got, quite frankly, your butt kicked. Like, you didn't play well. And no, Rocky 3 is not the one with the robot. That's Rocky 4 with Drago. So, again, sorry to use another Rocky analogy, but that's the first thing that came to mind. Like, you get the point. And then later in Rocky 3, after, Apollo Creed trains Rocky, he comes out and, quite frankly, outsmarts Clubber Lang the second time and whoops him. So I think I think it's a perfect metaphoric analogy there that you need to use in this case of, okay, South Carolina got knocked down. Let's be real. Now they got to turn it back up and get the eye of the tiger. You know what I mean? Like, quite literally, like, this team has all the talent in the world, but it doesn't matter if you don't play well. Like, you have to play better in these big games, and you're going to get kicked each time you play like you did on Sunday. That is not a good enough game from them. I think they're going to be all right, but you're not going to win your games if you're having your key players. Like, Raven Johnson has not done squat this season. Chloe Kitts, 2 points. That's not good enough. Bree Hall, 3 points. Not good enough. 13 turnovers. I mean, that's also terrible. I hate to be so frank, y'all, but, like, I mean, look, winning is really good, but, like, I mean, at some point, the winning gets to your head. And like RL says, not now, but you have a stream dedicated to the Rocky franchise, I might be interested. Look, I'd love to talk about Rocky. I used to be, like, so obsessed with the Rocky movies. I love those movies. Like, they're great. And, any 80s people on stream here will get my points. But, look, pop culture references aside, winning gets to your head, I feel like. And winning a championship, it's great. The great teams out there make it a habit. South Carolina's done a good job of that. Now, can they overcome some adversity here? They're playing a great Iowa State team on Thursday, on Thanksgiving, out in Fort Myers. I mean, they gotta win that game, and they gotta push through, and you gotta make it happen. Would I blame more of the loss on game changers or drinking their own Kool-Aid? Or maybe a mixture of both. I say mixture of both. I think UCLA is just a really good team. Let's not take anything away from those girls. They're a great team. At the same time, deep down, I don't cover the team on a day-to-day basis, so it's hard for me to get a real gauge. But if I'm thinking clearly here, winning does get to your head, I think. I think they see that they can get by not playing 100%, and maybe that's enough for them. But it's not. It shouldn't be. You have to play better. And they were going to lose at some point. Winning does not last forever. And it's one loss. Your entire season's still in front of you. The sky is not falling. They will be okay. It's just they gotta pick it up here. Because you got a tough stretch of games coming up. Like, it's them. It's Duke. It's Iowa State. It's Duke. TCU on the road out in Fort Worth. I mean, you Purdue, like, you should win these games. But if you're not playing your brand of basketball, it's going to be tough to win. And speaking of playing your brand of basketball, let's flip over to the men's side real quick before – how much time we got left in this game? Well, we're in a commercial of some sort. Men's hoops. Let's talk Let's talk some men's hoops before we flip it over to the live reaction for the CFP rankings or CFP rankings. And again, I appreciate all you guys tuning in. If you're not already, go ahead and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Gamecock Central. It's free. Literally, if you're watching on YouTube right now, click out of the video real quick. You could pause me and then quit listening to me blabbing for a second and take a break by hitting the subscribe button. And again, helps out the channel. And while you're at it, go ahead and give this video a thumbs up if you guys are enjoying what you're hearing. But I think overall with the men's team, I mean, what's up with the men? Like, quite literally, like, how worried should you be? It's a fair question to ask, straight up. Let me give a little bit of perspective. Yesterday's loss to Xavier, I mean, you got outplayed in the second half. Quite literally, like you did. And I'll dive into specifics on why that was in a second. However, let me say 3-3 on the year. It's not ideal. You lost to North Florida. You lost on the road to Indiana, and you lost to Sean Miller in what is essentially the Hall's Chop House Bowl. Is that what we're going to call it? Bad jokes aside. Sorry. But look, it's 3-3. Your season's not over, but you got to start winning some of these big games. And I'll also be the other voice of reason. The schedule is much tougher this year. You're not playing, in college basketball terms, cupcakes every week. You're not playing your Presbyterians and your Notre Dames. And Notre Dame's not a cupcake, but, like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm thinking of games from last year. You're not playing your Florida A&Ms every game. You will play those teams eventually once we get to December here. But, like, you're playing Xavier, you're playing Virginia Tech tomorrow, which if you don't beat them, whoo boy, that would be ugly. Like, Virginia Tech, you should beat them tomorrow out in Fort Myers. Tip off at 6 p.m. We'll have all coverage for you on GamecockCentral.com. You go to Boston College next week, and then 2 weeks after that, you get Clemson at home. You could possibly go out of here with 4 to 5 losses, and that's not great. But, like, you got to win these big games. Over these, all right, let's say Virginia Tech, Clemson, and Boston College. Those are your big 3 games left, I think, unless I'm missing something. You need to win at least 2 of those to feel confident. Last night would have been great to win that game, but you didn't. And here's the thing, man. Excuse me. They didn't play great. Well, actually, I take that back. They played fine. It's just the second half fell apart. I mean, look, you were winning going into the second half, and you held the lead for a little bit, but you get 46 points in that second half. That is inexcusably bad. The other side of it is you also turned the ball over, 12 times in that game? That's not good. And Xavier had 20 points off turnovers. That's a huge, huge difference in this game. Also, on top of that, you were not able to rebound. I don't know what it is with this team, but I'm watching them play, and it just seems like, I mean, you guys can chime in on it. I feel like they're just lacking effort. And that's not something that you need to go into the playbook and rework. Literally, if you like, you don't have, like, coaching effort. I don't even think that's something Lamont Paris needs to be talking about with his guys. They just need to be playing better. Like, I see, and again, I'm not calling anyone out, or I'm not trying to pinpoint one time where it happened, because I think a guy like this played pretty well last night. But Zach Davis, I'm watching that game in the final minute last night, and you're down by a few points, and I see Xavier get a rebound, and they, drive back up to the rim, and Zach doesn't even contest. Like, he's one of your better defenders. He's just standing there. Like, again, I'm not blaming this on anyone, but, like, I saw it multiple times last night where it felt like they weren't giving 100%. There was no aggression. Meanwhile, Xavier's crashing to the boards, getting rebounds, and playing really physical. And that's another thing. I think South Carolina just needs that physicality. Someone needs to play, as Lamont Paris said, with, like, that mean grizzle on their face. Like, no one has that right now on this team. And I think the other thing is, I think they're just missing the key guys from last year. Let's just be real for a second. Like, last year's team was so good, and I've seen people say it's like a fluke and stuff, which it wasn't, because everything just came together, and that was a great team last year. You don't have BJ Mack. You don't have Michi Johnson. You don't have – this is the biggest loss, in my opinion, of the three. Stephen Clark. No, I'm just kidding. No disrespect, Stephen Clark. He was solid. But Talon Cooper, I mean, losing him is the biggest loss for this team by far. Floor general. That is such an underrated quality of a good basketball team. Jamari Thomas is supposed to be a replacement for that spot, right? But, I mean, even Lamont was kind of critical of his aggression last night. And there were times where Jamari would get a ball screen, and he doesn't go around the screen. He goes the other way where the defender could just step right up. What are we doing, man? What? He went 3 of 10 shooting last night. 6 rebounds, 3 personal fouls, 2 turnovers. I mean, talk about inconsistent. That's it right there. And look, I hate to be critical, but I'm calling a spade. Like I said, I'm gonna be straight up with y'all. It's just, and look, this team. I've seen a lot of people say that I can't remember exactly how it's been phrased, but they don't have enough enough superstar players, or they don't have enough quality basketball players. I get that. Colin Murray Boyles is your lead guy by far. And here's the thing. When he's not out there and when he's not in the game, you see how much of an effect it has on the team. And I think we can safely say this year, at least from what we've seen through 8:44 left to go in this Michigan State-Memphis game. So we'll stay on stream for the rest of this game. And then obviously once the CFP rankings come out, we'll quickly react to that. But I think for South Carolina, your team runs through Colin Murray Boyles, quite literally. When he's on, the rest of the team's on. When he's off, the rest of the team's off. I think that's what you can kind of look at. I don't know what it is. He fouled out last night. He only had 13 points on 4 or 5 shooting, 6 rebounds, 3 blocks. He was great. He was really good last night. But at the same time, he cannot do it all on his own. And you need more guys to step up. Nick Pringle, especially, I think needs to step it up more. 3 rebounds last night. And I know he had a ton of fouls early, which kind of messed things up a little bit. But you gotta be better. This team needs more consistency. They need just a lot of everything. Again, I think these things that I'm talking about are all correctable. It's just you got to do it in a hurry. Again, EXO says, I don't get it. There's no reason for them to lack effort or motivation. It's on them to see how far the team can go. Of course it is. Most definitely. Again, let's not blame this on Lamont Paris. Okay, coaching always deserves some blame, right? But at the end of the day, it's not his fault that the effort has been kind of abysmal. If the effort would have been better, maybe they would have grabbed more rebounds and maybe they would have prevented so many second chance points and all that stuff. It's sloppy. And here's the thing with South Carolina so far, right? With the men's team. They have not played a complete game yet, in my opinion. It's been some good games. Other times it hasn't been great. It's got to be better. It's got to be more consistent. And again, they have some games coming up. Again, Virginia Tech tomorrow night. You should win that game. If they lose that game, it's not over, obviously, but you'd be 3-4 with it would not be a good feeling because Virginia Tech, mind you, just lost to Michigan. They also just lost to Jacksonville at home. Let's be real. South Carolina played these guys last year. That was a close game out in Charlotte. I think South Carolina should win pretty handily tomorrow. Quite literally. If South Carolina plays the way we know they can, they should have no problem tomorrow. They lose that game, I don't know what to tell you. I think a lot of people have already checked out of men's basketball, and I understand it. Look, I get it. Everyone wants to hop off the wagon after last year when things aren't going 100%, 26 wins. I get it. And it is what it is. Nothing I can do about it. Nothing you can do about it. Look, it just happens. But same time, it's still very early in the year. I think this team's going to be fine. It's just they gotta turn on the switch. It's on them, and they gotta do it. Like, that is easily what it takes. Craig says CMB just can't just grab someone at the 3-point line and pick up a stupid foul. Yeah, the fouls have been just very. I mean, look, they gotta be better. They gotta be smarter too. Like, that's twice now where CMB's fouled out of the game. And last night it wasn't the biggest deal because he played 29 minutes, but you go back to that Indiana game, he fouled out in 19 minutes. Not saying Carolina wins that game if he's on the floor for 10 extra minutes. But you got to think, like, he can't do it by himself, but he makes enough of an impact where, like I said before, if the rest of the team plays well around him, maybe it's a different game. Who knows? So, look, I think they got to be better. We'll see. Hutch says, who carried the team yesterday? Not really one clear guy. I mean, everyone was kind of fine. CMB's the obvious guy that carried the team, in my opinion. I mean, look, some guys hit key shots down the stretch, but it wasn't enough because you fell behind so early on, and that's the problem. And look, South Carolina played good in the first half. Like, they were down 7-0 to start the game. Then they go on a 17-0 run, and we're good. Like, you did fine, but like, you had a lead going into halftime, but it just kind of all fell apart as the second half went on. Ian says he fouled out. What was his line for the game? 13 points, 4 or 5 shooting, 5 of 7 from the free throw line, 6 rebounds, 2 assists, 3 turnovers, 3 blocks, 2 steals, and 5 personal fouls in 29 minutes. That is the full Colin Murray-Boyle stat line. So, yeah. All right. We got 7 minutes left to go in Memphis versus Michigan State. Sparty just hit a 3. They're now down 60-49 in the Maui Invitational semifinal. Again, I'm bringing that up because we are, again, as Jeff says, this basketball game won't be over by 8. Yeah, no, you're definitely right. I'm going to flip the channel here in a second and kind of see maybe if the playoff rankings will move to a different channel. I don't know if they will be. You know, like with basketball, that's the most annoying part is that that with basketball, it's like you got timeouts in the final minutes of the game and stuff, and it kind of just slows the game down. Like, it's kind of ridiculous, but I understand it. Look, this game hopefully will just be a blowout, and that way we can kind of get moving here with the CFP rankings because, again, that's why this selection Sunday is going to be a pain in a few weeks for South Carolina, depending on if they win on Sunday again or Saturday against Clemson. Like, that's going to be a whole process getting through the show with the bowl game and whatnot. So, yeah, so we're gonna take a seat on the couch here. We're kind of doing this a little bit off brand, but you know what? We're just sitting here waiting for things to heat up. Appreciate you guys all tuning in. If you guys have any questions while we're waiting for this thing to kind of get going, again, 6.5 minutes left to go. We've pretty much hit on all basketball by this point. So let's start diving into a little bit of football here. And again, I'd like to get you guys kind of involved in the conversation here. So, yes, and Hutch is correct. The CFP on this live stream is the final segment. Yes. So we've touched on, if you're just joining, hello, how you guys doing? Appreciate it for you guys tuning in. We've already talked women's basketball. We've talked men's basketball. No need to harp on those losses anymore. Like, they were bad losses. You move on, whatever. For the women, they play on Thursday against Iowa State on Thanksgiving, and the men's team plays tomorrow against Virginia Tech. So nothing really more to say there. Win the games, move on. We'll talk next week. More hoops. We're diving into football. We are having like Craig says, an evening on the couch with Veltri. I like it. Yes, we are going to be hanging on the couch, waiting for this hoops game to end, and we're talking some football. Yeah, let's have a good time talking some football now. Where do y'all think Carolina's going to be ranked? Let me hear it. Where do y'all think Carolina's going to be ranked? I am going to give my thoughts in a few minutes, but I would like to hear what you guys have to say first. Ian says, want to see what they do with Ole Miss. They stay in front of the Gamecocks, right? Unfortunately. I would, man, that's the annoying part is that here's the thing with Ole Miss and Alabama. Their losses are terrible. Like, it's like, how can you, like, losing to, sorry if I'm moving around a lot. I'm trying to get like the right angle and stuff. I mean, this basketball game is kind of just dragging on. Yeah, with football though, look, I don't think Ole Miss and Bama should be ranked ahead of South Carolina. However, let's talk reality for a second. Both those teams beat South Carolina. Like that's the thing that I think. But at the same time, the committee's already proven that. And again, we're talking football now. Just to give a quick heads up, like they both have awful losses, and the committee's already shown that. Like, yeah, if like LSU, for instance, a few weeks ago, after they lost to Alabama, they got spanked by Alabama. They dropped behind South Carolina in the rankings, or maybe it was after the Florida loss, whatever. Like, South Carolina lost that game to LSU, but the committee was like, you know what? We're putting LSU behind South Carolina because that's the way it should be. And here's the thing with now, like Alabama just lost, and you're getting very candid, Jack Veltri, right now. You're getting very like, I'm tired. I'm ready to go to bed later. And my voice is hurting. And I'm giving y'all authentic Jack. Like, Alabama lost to Oklahoma 24-3. South Carolina went into Norman and won 35-9. And we're talking about Alabama potentially being ahead of South Carolina. Look, I get the metrics, the numbers, the head-to-head. But who's the best 12 teams right now? Bama got smoked, as the comment says here, by Oklahoma. Like, South Carolina beat Oklahoma. That game was a wrap in the first 5 minutes of the game. And Alabama only mustered 3 points with that high-powered offense. I mean, what are we talking about here? South Carolina, I know they're not going to be ahead of Alabama in the rankings because, number one, it's Alabama, and the big-name brand usually comes out on top in the end of these discussions. And that's another issue that I have, is that the committee, it's the committee. It's not a computer system. It's human bias. We see it with the AP poll with the one dude that decided to put his pride in the way of putting South Carolina in the AP poll for the top 25, which is another topic for another day. But at the same time, it's like, we've seen this story before. And look, for context, maybe I shouldn't even mention this, but I'm providing like truthful, honest perspective here. Like, I've seen this before with Alabama. Like, I grew up a Bama fan. Like, I watched this team, loved them as a kid, growing up, my whole family and stuff. But the point is, I've seen this before, and I don't think Alabama should be in the playoff this year. They have awful losses. They are inconsistent. Yes, they have some of the better wins. Yes, they beat Georgia, but that was all the way back in September. Like, again, head-to-head matters, but at the same time, it's like, what have you done for me lately? You lost to Vanderbilt, a 6-5 Vanderbilt team who has been better this year. But at the same time, South Carolina, what seems to be the only team that has been able to beat those guys pretty easily this year, 28-7, on their home field in Nashville. Mind you, Alabama, fresh out the biggest win of the year, lost to Vanderbilt in Nashville. So look, and also Alabama lost to Oklahoma, like I said. Ole Miss, we haven't even gotten into them yet. They're a whole separate story. But Bama, like, you've seen this before. Last year getting into the playoff, I think they should have been in the playoff last year over Florida State. Hot take, but that's just my opinion. Look, Florida State would have gotten smoked, I think, by Michigan in the Rose Bowl. Like, it would have been 2014, Jameis Winston cocking the throwback and against Oregon, and the rest is history, like 59-39 blowout. But I think for Alabama, look, Jalen Milroe stunk it up the other day. 3 interceptions. I mean, the defense didn't play bad, but, like, you're playing Oklahoma defense. They're very good. but South Carolina was able to play fine against them. And I know that Carolina game was the defense leading the way. But at the same time, it's like you just know how this story's going to go. And I hate to be, yeah, I am all over the place. Like, it's been a long day. Like, it's work and stuff. But, I'm here to have fun and talk. So, my thoughts are kind of buzzing right now. But, look, I think for Carolina, I'll get my honest thoughts. I think, and thank you for clarifying. Milroe. Yeah, Milroe's all over the place. Like, it's crazy how he went from being 400 yards passing against Georgia. I'm going to see if this game, or not the game, it's available on the ESPN app. Okay, never mind. So I guess for those of you just now joining, college football playoff rankings have not dropped yet because we got a basketball game on. But once this hoops game's over, it's turning our attention to the CFP rankings. Look, Alabama, final point, they're probably going to be ranked ahead of South Carolina. And let me just be quite honest. It would not shock me on Selection Sunday on December 8th if Alabama makes the playoff. I know. 2 losses to garbage teams that Alabama should have probably walloped like South Carolina did. But you see the big name, you see the big A. I know Nick Saban's not around anymore, but it's the name brand, and that's why. Again, these are ADs and former coaches and stuff voting. It's not a computer. There's going to be intentional bias, and I think the easy answer here is just lose to Auburn in the Iron Bowl, and that'll rest the case. Unless the CFP decides to do something crazy and put a 4-loss team in, which I don't think that's even going to happen. 4-loss team should not be in. But like a 3-loss team with 2 awful losses, and yes, they have wins over LSU at night on the road, which doesn't really look like a great win now. They have a win over Georgia, which is great. And am I missing another win here that they have? I think they have another ranked win. Missouri. But like, I don't know. I don't know. I'm very confident that Alabama is still going to be if there's any team to make it with 3 losses. And again, I'd like to see South Carolina get in there. I think they deserve to be in there. And I'm going to just share my ranking. I think South Carolina will be ranked 14 tonight. So there you go. I think Carolina's 14. I think Clemson's probably 13. I actually, I think you got to put probably. Here we go. Number 12 is going to be Clemson, I think, right? I think number 13 is going to probably be Ole Miss. Number 14 is going to be Carolina, and 15 needs to be Alabama. I know that's dropping Alabama 8 spots, but newsflash, they scored 3 points against Oklahoma, and I get it. Oklahoma's got a good defense, but Oklahoma was on the verge of not making a bowl game. Like, what are we doing here? So, look, that's my thoughts on that. And I think it wouldn't shock me if it's actually 12 Clemson, 13 Ole Miss, 14 Bama, and like 15 South Carolina. Like, I could totally see something like that happen, but I don't know. We'll have to see what happens. It is not going to shock me to see these other teams that South Carolina's lost to ahead. But at the same time, the committee's also proven, and again, this is where the committee is kind of a mess, in my opinion, to where if we do see Ole Miss and Alabama ahead of South Carolina, it's because of head-to-head. Whereas 2 weeks ago or a week ago, whatever it was, well, head-to-head apparently didn't matter when LSU and South Carolina were kind of being paired up against one another. So, look, it's just, I don't know what it is. And Ole Miss, I'll hit on them real quick here. Oh, my gosh. They have 2 of the worst losses as well. And yes, like both these Alabama and Ole Miss have wins over Georgia. But how can that take you from not being in the playoff to being in the playoff? Like, how can that one game just suddenly put you like, yeah, you can be ahead of South Carolina. You can be ahead of everyone. Like, and I get it. South Carolina is a good win for those teams too, but it's like, what have you done lately? You just lost to Florida on the road in the swamp, a team that probably could have fired their coach maybe 2 weeks ago. Like, after losing to Texas, getting spanked, I don't know. Florida, give them a lot of credit, though. They've kind of turned it up lately. Let's also not forget, yes, it happened a little while ago. Ole Miss might have the worst loss of the season in SEC play, losing a home game in Oxford to the Kentucky Wildcats. The bottom feeder this year, Kentucky Wildcats, who might go 4-8 this year. And in case you're asking, yes, rankings have not come out yet. I am sorry that they have not come out yet. I'd like for them to be already be out so we can talk about them, because the ESPN is gonna they're gonna get every minute out of having the show go from 8 to 9. Luckily, when I've been watching with the CFP rankings, it's been kind of like quick, like they've kind of not wasted time, talk for 5 minutes, and then get them out one by one. With South Carolina, hopefully it's around 14 to 15 tonight. I said 14 would probably be about where they're at, but it's a 7-point lead for Memphis right now, 66-59, 2 minutes, 25 seconds left to go. I have a feeling we're going to get some fouls. We're going to get timeouts. I mean, this thing might not be out till 8:30, unfortunately, which is going to be a real pain in the butt. But it is what it is. I think getting back to Ole Miss, you lost to Kentucky. Like, look, the argument I've seen all week is that Ole Miss blew out South Carolina. Look, yes, that is South Carolina's worst loss of the year. You lost by 24 points. Yeah, yada, yada, yada. I get it. But that was in October. That was the first week of October. And I think, let's agree here, South Carolina is a much different team post-Bama loss, post-Ole Miss loss. Like, again, isn't the object of the playoff to get the 12 best teams in? The logic would say so. It's just I don't know what the values are for the CFP committee, because it changes all the time, it seems like. And in my opinion, 134 left to go in this basketball game. Let's hurry it up here. What was I saying? I just don't. I don't think the committee tries to get the best teams in sometimes, and also they can't really get the 12 best teams in because, number one, you have automatic qualifiers. So let's be real: should a Big 12 team get into the playoff in a regular format, without guaranteed spots? I don't know. And here's a great point by EXO: it's the 12 best media markets, not teams. Potentially, yes. And look, logic says South Carolina needs to be in top 10 might be a little bit of a stretch, but top 12, yes, absolutely. Like, I would totally say that's the case. It's just, again, and we also have to remember this is a great point here by EXO that we cannot sleep on. ESPN, these are games that are going to be on their network for the playoff. Money is all these big brand companies care about, obviously, as we well know. And if it means getting an Alabama in there, let's put it this way. Would you be more inclined to watch Alabama play in a playoff game, or would you be more inclined to watch, I'm trying to think of a team here as an example, Tulane? I'm trying to think of a random team here. Like, would you rather watch big brand Alabama, or would you watch Tulane? I think everyone would say Alabama. So it's a bad comparison, but you're going to be putting Alabama in over those types of teams. And look, viewers, it's right or wrong, viewership is going to play a role in this. And again, we will see if they get we're going to learn a lot tonight about where Carolina stands, but also what the committee views. Because look, if we're talking about getting the 12 best teams in and viewership and all that, then logically Indiana should not be in the playoff. And that, oh my God, that's a whole nother discussion. Indiana, say what you will, one loss. If they finish the year 11-1, which they should, because they should beat Purdue in a few days here out in Bloomington, they're going to go 11-1. you would think, like, okay, they should be in the playoff. Their schedule's brutal. Like, I'm sorry, brutal. Brutal in the way that they don't have any quality games on their opponent, like on their team, like on their resume. Michigan is their best win. That is a Michigan team that's probably going 6-6 after losing to Ohio State on Saturday. And if Michigan beats Ohio State, different story. But that is Indiana's best win. And here's the thing, y'all. Indiana would be a team that probably keeps South Carolina out of the playoff. And you know what's going to happen. We've seen it before with these teams that don't deserve to be in, and they get stomped on in the playoff. I think we're going to see a lot of that in this new 12-team format. As long as they keep expanding, you're going to see teams that don't deserve to get in. And again, a computer would be great to determine this. Like, if a computer told me that Indiana deserves to be in, all right, I can kind of disagree to agree. I can agree to disagree, but I can also be like, all right, like, it's fair then. But like, with random people making these decisions that have biases, like, I just don't trust it. That's just my 2 cents on it. So 47 seconds left to go. 68-61. Let's root for Memphis here so they can score another bucket, make this a double-digit game, and then we can kind of move on here. But again, I don't know. It's just, and I have seen this, a 58% chance of making the playoffs if they beat Clemson. Yes, I agree. I think it's a little low right now. Like, what is it, like 20-something? Oh, my gosh. A review. Oh, my gosh. Oh, man. This is the most candid live stream. Wow, this is fun. Yeah, look. I think South Carolina should make the playoff. They played like it. Like, one of the 12 best teams in the country right now, in my opinion. But they're not going to be – I don't know. I just have a hard time seeing Carolina get in without some help. If they get help, it's a different story. I think if you – let's say South Carolina let's say South Carolina beats Clemson. Tennessee loses to Vanderbilt. Notre Dame loses to Southern Cal. I'm going to get set up here. I think that's a good starting point, but you have work left. I think you just need a lot of help. You need Alabama to get out of your way for number one. Because, again, I don't trust the committee to do the right thing and put South Carolina ahead of Alabama. I just don't see that happening. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, again, we are going to be talking here in 2 weeks. I'm guaranteeing it right now. I'll bookend it, especially if South Carolina's 9-3. And I hope I'm wrong. We're going to be talking here in 2 weeks on this live stream on Sunday Reset. We'll come back to this moment, and we'll be talking about how South Carolina got left out of the playoff. Number one, because of the LSU game and the whatever you want to call it that happened there with the awful officiating, which that's a whole another topic for another day. But we're also going to be talking about how a team that probably didn't deserve to get in, I think there's going to be a 3-loss team that gets in. I just don't know if it's going to be South Carolina. It should be. But again, big brand plays a role in these types of things, right or wrong. And I think it's wrong. Like, again, it's just, I don't know. There's a lot of teams that South Carolina's got to be pulling for. And we'll see what happens. These are different times, but you know what? If I can provide some good stuff here, and maybe this is a little bit moral victory of me, whatever the case might be, who would have thought we would have had the conversation of South Carolina in the playoff potentially? I mean, I go back to last year, and I'm thinking, like, this team was dreadful to watch last year. Like, that month of October might have been the worst month of watching South Carolina football in my time on the beat. Like, easily, without question. Losing to Clemson to end the year last year to go 5-7 and miss a bowl game, and you didn't give up a touchdown on offense in that game, it's just to go from that to this. And look, I think we haven't seen South Carolina in a position like this yet in the CFP era. even including the 4 team, you can argue, I don't in the BCS. Like, again, it hasn't been like this really ever. And I'll argue 2010. I mean, I was not watching like this in 2010, but like South Carolina, correct me if I'm wrong, y'all, South Carolina was not going to be going to the BCS championship game that year, even if it had beat Auburn in the SEC title game, correct? Like, again, this is just about as good of a chance as South Carolina has ever had to. I think 1984 is the good comparison here. Like, I think that is the comparison here where, like, we're talking about a team that could potentially be doing some crazy things. And look, whatever, even if they got into the playoff, I don't know what's going to happen. But I think for right now, just enjoy the ride. Like, I think there's a huge game this weekend. I think we also forget that, like, look, this is also about state pride at the end of the day. Like, that's always what this game has been about: state pride, winning the Palmetto Bowl, winning that trophy. Except there's just a lot more on the line this weekend with a potential playoff spot. So, look, it is. We'll see what happens, but I do think for Carolina, they've got a good chance to get into the playoff. I just worry that the committee is going to get this wrong. And I worry that the committee is going to put in a team that doesn't deserve to be in. And that's not to say South Carolina deserves to be in. I think they do. But, like, again, it depends on if the committee even wants to put a 3-loss team in. Like, if they're not going to put a 3-loss team in, then maybe that's a different discussion. But if we're talking about a 3-loss team potentially getting in, it's got to be Carolina. Am I right? Like, and here's the worst situation I think could happen this weekend. I'll have a rooting guide out, I think, on Friday. What was the question here? What do I know? What do I know about the? Are we talking about the brawl? I've seen the clips of it. I was only 4 years old when the brawl happened, but if anyone wants to enlighten me more on the details of it, like who threw the right hook or whatever the case might be, sure. But again, my memory with that, not really there. But yeah, and also, can we just give a big a round of applause to everyone that's been around since the beginning of the stream? Like, I totally apologize that this stream is run for. Literally, my plan, quite honestly, was just 45 minutes in and out. Basketball decided this game between Memphis and Michigan State decided to have a different idea, and we got 13 and a half seconds left. But we'll see. But I appreciate all you guys tuning in, and again, sorry this is taking much longer than anticipated, but if you guys are enjoying it, I'm glad. That'd be awesome. And it's good to talk about South Carolina, right? It's good to have a non-scripted, here we go. Please, yes. All right, missed. No foul. All right, woohoo, game's over. Let's go. Memphis wins 71-63. It is about that time, y'all. Let's get busy. The playoff rankings are to come in just a minute. I will answer some quick questions. Was Mac Brown's firing a surprise or expected? Yes, it was a surprise. I think UNC should let him finish out the year, but I don't think he gave them much of a choice. That's just my opinion. I think they had to fire him. What's my favorite Rocky movie? I love the first one. Honorable mention, number 3 is really good too. Number 1 is a classic, 1976. Can't go wrong with the original. All right. We're talking rankings now. Finally. My goodness. 54 minutes into this stream. All right. So if you guys want to watch along, you can do that. I'm not going to show the stream on here I don't want to get copyrighted. So that's probably the honest answer. So I will tell you what happens as I'm watching. You guys can watch along as well and comment and all that stuff. Again, I think South Carolina's going to be ranked 14. We will see what happens. They got Clemson, Carolina on the screen. Well, not like for that. But they put CFP with a question mark on screen, and then they put Carolina, Clemson. I think whoever wins that game this weekend is gonna get. I think they're gonna have a great chance to get in. All right, we're finally getting rolling with this thing. My goodness, this is taking a while. I appreciate y'all tuning in. It's been a lot of fun. This is totally different from what we've usually been doing, but hey, you guys seem to be enjoying it. So think of this like a watch party, right? I've been thinking about doing something like this for a little bit now. So think of this like a watch party. Like we're watching as these rankings come out. Maybe we'll do this for Selection Sunday. We'll see. Hey, Jack, are you going to the Carolina Clemson game? Of course I am. Of course I am. Well, number one is my job, but number two, yeah, of course. I will be there. That's going to be a really, really fun time. Yeah, I must be streaming ESPN. Yeah, so I'm on YouTube TV right now. So also, well, I can't really do much to avoid it, but don't spoil maybe. I don't know. Watch as I go. I don't know. Hanging with my with the whole vlog and the stream here. This is my backup plan, I guess. So yeah, look, we'll go through the rankings as they come out, and then as soon as South Carolina's in, we will deep dive into it and why I think it's right or wrong, whatever the case might be. But like I don't know, I can't really manage how you guys want to, if you guys want to comment like when the rankings come out, if you're ahead of me or whatever. But we will see. So. All right, we're still waiting on everything to come out. They're diving into how it works and all this and that. Yeah, we get it. Oh, man. So we wait, and we wait, and we wait. This would kill me if this were decided at 8:30 or 8:45. Like, let's just cut to the chase, and let's get this moving on. Nice and easy. Oh my gosh, just get to it, man. Yes, put the numbers up. Let's go. Put the numbers up. Put a like on this stream. Absolutely correct, R.L. Smith. Put this up. Yes, and I hope to see you guys there too. Appreciate it. Hutch. If you guys want to get my I'll have the vlog up on Sunday, win, lose, or draw. Hopefully they win. I'll be in Clemson on Friday. I might actually be in Greenville because my folks are going to be in Clemson because if you don't know, brother and sister both go to Clemson. And so we're going straight from Thanksgiving to Clemson. So I'm going on Friday. Oh, here we go. Number 25. Holy wow. Colorado dropped 9 spots. Whoa. I mean, that's not surprising, but dang. Kansas State, number 24 in the rankings. They were not in it last time. I am sorry if I spoiled for you watching on stream or on your TV and you're watching this. Illinois moves up 2 spots to number 23. Okay, not a surprise. All right, let's see. Watch South Carolina be like number 22. Oh, my gosh. UNLV up to number 22. Missouri at 21. That is good for South Carolina, by the way. As long as you better be rooting for Missouri to beat Arkansas this week because you need them to stay in the rankings. A&M moves down to 20. You better hope A&M sticks around too. Just stop the stream. No, we are riding this. We've done it this long. We're sticking through. BYU moved down 5 spots to number 19. Iowa State moves up to number 18. Man, I can't believe Colorado moved down 9 spots. Then again, that is what should happen when you lose to a team that might not even make a bowl game. Tulane's up to 17. All right, big one. Arizona State is up to 16. That means South Carolina is not getting overtaken by Arizona State. Good job, committee. Good job. That I know people were worried about that. All right, here we go. Let's see. Number 15, South Carolina. That would make sense. All right, they got some work to do, but they moved up to 15. That is in. South Carolina's ranked 15, y'all. And of course, Ole Miss and Alabama are going to be ranked ahead. What a surprise. What a surprise. Ole Miss is ranked 14. They dropped 5 spots. You're telling me Alabama, man, whatever. Clemson has not been ranked yet. If Clemson's not ranked here, they'll probably be number 12, which is crazy to me. But I get it to some extent. Again, the losses to Ole Miss and Bama are killing South Carolina right now. That is the only reason that this is going on. Lose to any other team might be a different story. Alabama's 13. That means Clemson's probably going to be 12. Oh, man. And here we go. A whole talk about Alabama here. Why are we doing this for this team? Go through the rankings, then talk about everyone. Look, here's the good news, though, for Carolina. They beat Clemson. They're jumping 3 teams probably. They have to be. All right, Clemson's probably going to be ranked 12. I mean, that just... Man. It's fine. I get it that Alabama and Ole Miss are ranked ahead. Clemson's ranked 12. All right. That's not surprising. I mean, look. They moved up 5. Yeah, they have 2 losses. I don't know. All right. So, we'll talk more about what happens here in a second with the rest of the rankings. Initial reaction, 15. I said they'd be ranked 14. Makes sense. Again, I think this is fair. It makes – I don't like it necessarily that Bama and Ole Miss are ahead, but it does make sense. Like, all right, so the double standard is out there. Head-to-head just matters all of a sudden because LSU losing a few weeks ago didn't – I mean, that didn't matter. So, with the head-to-head against South Carolina. But, hey, I guess for the big-name brands – Boise State's number 11. Here's the good news. Oh, and by the way, I've seen this. What doesn't make sense to me is that Clemson destroyed the Citadel, went up 5 spots. It's also because they are they didn't I'm sorry, I'm trying to multitask here. I got something to do with work after this. What was I saying? Clemson only has 2 losses. That is most likely why. It would be easy for South Carolina to be in that spot, but losses to Ole Miss and Alabama are killing them. So, not to my knowledge that they're not ranked, but we'll see. It's just, again, head-to-head matters. And I just got a text from a friend of mine who said the head-to-head it shouldn't matter, and it's BS. Indiana moves to 10. That feels about right. I'm afraid Indiana's going to get in. I'm afraid they're going to be getting in. Number 9, SMU. I have a feeling 2 ACC teams are going to be getting it now, unless Clemson wins the conference, but we'll see. It's just, again, South Carolina, say what you will about losing by 24 points to Ole Miss, but their losses are not as egregious as losing to Kentucky, Vanderbilt, Florida, and Oklahoma. 3 of those teams South Carolina beat really handedly. So, I don't know what to tell you. Like, again, this whole thing Tennessee moves up to 8. This whole thing will shake out eventually to where if South Carolina wins this weekend, hypothetically they should move up to 12. Let me just say this now. If South Carolina beats Clemson, and I'm just speaking just truthfully honest here, if I don't see South Carolina at 12 next rankings, I would be genuinely shocked. And I think that would be egregiously bad. Georgia's at 7. If we're going to reward teams like Ole Miss and Alabama for beating god-awful Mississippi State and under 500 Auburn in rivalry games this week, I don't know what we're doing here. I get it. They have the head-to-head. But a win over a top 12 team in the country at this point in the season should warrant moving up a few spots. South Carolina should not be sitting behind Ole Miss and Alabama at this time next week. I don't care if Alabama wins by 100. I don't care if Ole Miss covers the spread. They have losses to awful teams. One team, honestly, Kentucky's not going to a bowl game this year. So that's a terrible loss at home. And South Carolina beat that team by what, 25 this year? Number 2, they lost to Florida, who is going to a bowl game, but they're 6-5. Alabama, like I said, lost to Oklahoma by 21 points. South Carolina beat them 35-9. Vanderbilt, South Carolina. Oh, Notre Dame's at 5, by the way. That makes sense. South Carolina beat Oklahoma and Kentucky and Vanderbilt pretty easily this year. So, again, I'd be shocked if Carolina doesn't move up to 12 next week, based on the fact that if you beat a top 12 team, you should be moving up significantly. There's no reason for South Carolina to not be in the top 12 next week if they beat Clemson. That should be the standard. Like, again, they should be able to leapfrog these teams ahead of them. Penn State at 4, Texas at 3, Ohio State's going to be at 2, and Oregon's going to be at 1. Again, the full rankings haven't come out yet. They're up to 3 right now. Ohio State at 2 and Oregon at 1. All right. So I'm going to wrap this up here in a second. Appreciate you guys all joining me. Look, so the first team out right now is Clemson. Second team out right now is Alabama. Matchups are as follows. Boise State playing Arizona State. SMU playing Indiana. Georgia playing Tennessee. Notre Dame playing Miami. Wait, hold on. Scratch that. I was just reading off the wrong way. Sorry. Hold on. So the top 4 seeds would be Oregon, Texas, Miami, and Boise. Here are the matchups. Arizona State as the 12 seed, because they'd win the Big 12, playing Ohio State. Ohio State would crush Arizona State. I'm sorry to any ASU people watching if you are. But, I mean, look, Ohio State's going to crush them. Here are the rest of the matchups. Tennessee versus Georgia. Georgia at home. Georgia's winning that game. Indiana versus Penn State in Happy Valley. I would assume Penn State wins that game. SMU versus Notre Dame. That game could go either way, actually. All right. I think the committee got it right for the most part. I'm glad that Arizona State was not put ahead of South Carolina. But again, I mean, it doesn't really matter in the sense, but like Arizona State, maybe you need them to lose too. I don't know. You need more chaos to happen. Here are my 3 that I'm going to say that South Carolina needs to happen to hopefully have some hope here. I think you need Notre Dame to lose to USC. If that happens, I think Notre Dame with losses to a MAC team in Northern Illinois and a loss to a 7-5 USC team, I think that should warrant dropping out, especially without a conference championship game. That's just my opinion. I think ideally you'd like Indiana to lose to Purdue. Tennessee needs to lose to Vanderbilt. And what's another game here? I think you also need Texas to probably, I don't even know. I think you need A&M. I don't even know, honestly. Do they need A&M to beat Texas? Like, I don't know. We'll see what happens. We're going to do a lot of good stuff here with the stream. It was a lot of fun talking hoops and football. That's all I really got to say right now. If you want to listen to me with more reactions and actual brain thoughts tomorrow, check me out on 107.5 The Game at 9 to 10 a.m. I'll have a lot more reaction with Tyler Head on the CFP rankings and why I think it's good, why I think it's bad. And we'll go from there. Again, this is a very random type stream and very just off brand. But you know what? We're talking, we're having fun. Maybe we'll do this again next week. If you guys are enjoying this, let me know. Maybe we'll do this again next week. We'll talk next Tuesday, and we'll do this. We're definitely doing this for the selection Sunday, but this is just a little bit something I thought might be cool. I didn't know if it was going to do well. Obviously, it seems like it has. So, yeah. So we'll see what happens. Need a lot of teams to lose, obviously, but South Carolina controls their own destiny in a sense of like you stay in the hunt if you beat Clemson. So we'll see what happens. That game's on Saturday at noon on ESPN from Memorial Stadium. I'll be in Clemson all weekend. Be there Friday. I might be in the Greenville area too. Saturday, I'll be in Death Valley at the game. If you see me and you recognize this face, come say hello. Don't be shy. We'll talk some football, all that good stuff. And then Sunday, we'll do Sunday reset. I'll probably be out in Clemson still with the fam doing that stream, but we're going to do it in the morning, and we'll have full real thoughts from the game. So win, lose, or draw, we're doing it. So appreciate all you guys tuning in again. South Carolina's ranked number 15 in the college football playoff rankings. Clemson's ranked number 12. 12 versus 15 matchup. Top 15 matchup for the first time since 2013. Y'all have a wonderful rest of your night, and I will see you guys tomorrow, actually, with Kendall Smith. 10:45 tomorrow. We'll talk more about the playoff action. I forgot to mention that. 10:45. Me and Kendall Smith will be on talking the playoff GC Live. And we'll talk some football, all that good stuff. Also on 107.5 The Game at 9 to 10 a.m. tomorrow. I'll see you guys then. Have a wonderful rest of your night.